We got the recording going. Good morning, everyone. This is Rama on Riding, coming to you live from a beautiful, soon-to-be sunny Kailua Kona, Hawaii. Our summer has been great here. We've had some rain this week, and it's gotten hot, like I remember, but it's not like the Arizona heat, which is pretty darn tough. Today, we're going to investigate some information relating to hashtagging. And it is a cool term. It does seem to be a growing trend, and it's all about trends. Through hashtags, we're able to see what the people in the world or in our world are talking about, thinking about, and we can be part of this. And I think that that's one of the keys that we're just got our toes in the water here. And some of us have used social media on a regular basis, but we may not be getting the biggest bang for our buck. And one of the terms that I found that I really liked, we've all heard of ROI, return on investment. Well, I found a term called return on hashtags. And that is actually the juice of what hashtagging is all about. How do we utilize it to get a return? What is a return for hashtags, and what is a return in social media? And I think that these are the questions that I encountered along the way. Is like, well, we all have resigned ourselves to doing some level of social media. The big question, of course, is why are we doing it? Why do we use one over another? And then how do we get the biggest bang for our buck when we're doing this? And to get the biggest bang for our buck, we do need to utilize hashtags. Hashtags are kind of like a branding component for who we are and what we're posting about. And there are kind of two types of hashtags I kind of discovered. One is a broad, general kind of hashtag. The most active hashtags were so vague and so, I wouldn't even know necessarily how to utilize them. The terms were, love and help and, hashtag for hashtag and like for like and things like this. And it was like, what are they getting at? And of course, if you've been online and you've watched how things roll out as social media changes, you'll have discovered that the people that seem to do the best and make the most impact and probably the biggest return are the ones who are teaching how to use social media, teaching how to blog, teaching how to do business, teaching how to use hashtags and things like this. These are the marketers. They are marketing a program. Most of us are kind of in a vein where we're looking at marketing our book. Some of us will be growing to marketing a platform, and ultimately all of us will be searching for what I consider our author's platform, whether that means teaching, whether it means writing several books in a specific genre, or whether it's just writing books and not really having a consistent theme on the books. We kind of all are in this process of sorting out, well, how do we get the word out as to who we are, what we do, and get those customers? As Bill mentioned, he said followers, but then he also mentioned, well, I sold some books through this process. So those are his customers as well. And, Bill and I have talked about a few platform things over the years. And although I don't think he's really moved in that direction yet, at some point he's going to, have that base in place, and he's going to start moving in a more specific direction. And I think that that's one of the things we all encounter, is that as we expose ourselves to social media, initially we're kind of stumbling along. We're like, well, somebody told me I needed to get on Twitter. And so you get on Twitter and you like things and you follow things, but you really don't have much of a rhyme or reason as to why you're doing it. And that's why you get questions like Dolores's obvious question is, well, I'm doing it, but I really don't understand why I'm doing this yet. Well, I hope to unwind some of the whys as we get into understanding how to utilize hashtags, because it all starts to make sense. But it's a big picture approach. As Bill mentioned, it's not something that happens overnight. And it's based on, stops and starts. We'll get into it for a while, and then we'll lose interest, and we'll lose half of our followers, and then we'll engage again and grow it further. One of the things that I have read over and over about social media, blogging, and things along these lines is that consistency is a very helpful component. Whether it's every day or every Monday or every Thursday, there are, a consistency is going to help us in the long run, because it's going to provide us a focus point, and it's going to provide us a growth. Now, one of the things I started to mention is that our hashtags, many of the trending hashtags are somewhat vague, and although they're not specific enough for us to perhaps benefit directly, my thinking is that, well, heck, maybe some of the more vaguer hashtags are something we want to include, as opposed to only specific. So my thought was that, well, as we go into this process, we probably want to have some general big hashtags that are very trendy, and then we're going to probably want to have some more specific ones like Rama on riding, or Hawaiian magic, or the enlightened trader, or something like that is very specific. But we're also going to need to tap into the juice of what's going on in the social media world, and those are the bigger hashtags, the general ones. So there is, you've probably seen this in certain posts. Some people go hashtag crazy. They'll put 5 or 10 hashtags at the end of a post or in the middle of a post. And the word that I read is that hashtags are helpful, but going hashtag crazy probably isn't helpful. So the norm is to use about 2 hashtags in a post. So that would lend maybe one general one and one specific one. And if you're part of the Facebook community, they have certain days where certain types of things are posted. Throwback Thursday, is the one that sticks in my mind. But they have hashtags for every day of the week. They have a special hashtag, and something like that could be a way that we can start utilizing hashtags on our posts. Is that, well, okay, today's Throwback Thursday, let me post something about my past. Okay, and then you start to maybe build on the momentum of a trend. Now, I encountered a whole lot of different softwares available to track trending hashtags. So if I started posting a lot with the hashtag Rama on writing, I could plug in Rama on writing into one of these pieces of software, and I could get some statistical analysis as to where it's going. And I might learn something. It's hard to know, numbers are great, but numbers for numbers' sake probably don't do anything for us. So if we are going to look at analytics, we want to learn from them and say, oh my gosh, look, if I include Rama on writing with Throwback Thursday hashtag, look at what I get compared to just a plain Rama on writing hashtag approach. So it does build on itself. It does take a little bit of research. Now, that is the component that struck me. It really struck home when I was looking at this thing, and I don't think that it was spelled out quite this way, but it really helped me understand why we would hashtag. Okay, now we've talked about social media and how do we find the followers that we need to to kind of support our book and our platform. Well, the status quo is that if we're a science fiction writer, we look for other science fiction writers and we look at their followers. Well, there's another strategy that came to my mind today. We can look at hashtags to find our followers. So a broad hashtag science fiction. If we plug that into a Twitter, a Pinterest, a Facebook, and Instagram, we will find people who are using that hashtag, and then we can follow them. We can look at their profile. We can follow their followers. So it gives us a huge component as to pinpointing people to follow to get ourselves in front of. And I think that was the biggest thing that I encountered in my research on hashtagging was oh my gosh, and it's very obvious. It's almost like something that's been on the tip of my tongue because I've talked about hashtags. I know they're searchable, but it didn't. I never took it to the next step. Say, oh my gosh, this makes it so much easier. How do we find, the authors that write science fiction? Well, maybe if we did a search on hashtag science fiction, we would come up with a place to start. And I think that's always been the hardest thing for us getting into social media is how do we start? What do we do? How do we maneuver in this world? And so the hashtags are the way we do this. Okay, now you've all seen posts that have hashtags in them. Some people have the hashtag at the beginning of the post. Some people have the hashtag in the title. Some people have the hashtag throughout the post. And some people have the hashtag at the end of the post. What strategy is the best? And I can't answer this one for you. Okay, this is an experimental field for me. And so we might ourselves want to experiment a little bit and utilize, okay, I'm going to try some posts with hashtags in the body of it and see what happens. What you'll find is with your hashtags is as you post them to a social media, they themselves become clickable links. So if I were to post an article, hashtag Rama on writing webinar blog post, and I talk about hashtags, I might include a series of different hashtags relating to what I'm talking about. I might use book marketing or book promoting in there, hashtag book marketing, hashtag book promoting, and tie that to some hashtag information and Rama on writing. And before you know it, if I do this on a regular basis, there's going to be a body of work that shows that Rama on writing is a place where you can learn about book promotion, things that you need to do to help promote your book, or things that you can do to help promote your book. And so what we're looking to do is to connect a vision that we have of ourselves, and really it's a platform. Okay, whether we want to believe this or accept it, we are all looking at developing a platform, and our social media and blogging is our platform. Those are the components of the platform, and those are the tools that we use, and that's why we're working in Twitter. That's why we're working in Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, is to kind of build our platform of presentation out there to the world. And we can choose whatever we want to portray. You know, if RVing is something that I like to do, and I'm thinking that, well, gosh, people that are out RVing have lots of time to read books. Maybe they'd like to read my books. I can talk about RVing, I can hashtag RVing, and I can have a series of posts relating to that, even though I'm not writing about RVing in any of my books. Okay, I only bring that up because there was an author years ago that couldn't figure out what to post about, and one of the things she liked doing with her family was RVing. So we thought, well, you've got some great RVing stories, why not post them? So our exposure in social media is a twofold component. One is to engage people, share who we are, so that people say, oh, Dolores is a really cool person. She's into this, that, and the next thing. And, oh, look, she's written a book. Boy, I like her. I'm going to see what her book is all about. Okay. So it's like getting your foot in the door. It's like, okay. And even though, books are, $10, $15, $20, in this day and age, getting money out of anyone is a challenge. It's not as much of a challenge as selling a $5,000 mountain bike, mind you, but it still is a challenge. And even though we may think, well, it's only a $12.95 book, how difficult can it be to convince someone to buy it? It is still convincing that we have to do. We have to connect with the people, we have to share who we are, and we have to create that common bond. Just like when I had my bike shop, when people came in the door, I didn't immediately try to sell them. What I did was I immediately tried to become their friend. And that's what we're doing with our social media, is we're connecting, we're trying to engage and establish a network of friends. That's why Facebook calls them friends. And so this is our process. And by utilizing our hashtags, we start to build an identity. And that's our goal, is to build an identity so that when someone comes to Tom Pitts's posting, they might learn something about gardening. He likes to garden, and say, well, gosh, Tom likes to garden. He also, writes about, some stories that might be relating to soldiers, or he might be, looking at ways that people are dealing with PTSD and things like that. So those are the kind of things that he can hashtag on as he grows his network of people in his social media. Okay, so one of the things that I think we can benefit greatly from is by searching on hashtags that might interest us. And I suspect that we can do searching inside of a social media, or we could do a searching in a Google or a Bing and just put the hashtag up there and see what comes across. And as we do that, we start to see, oh, look, this person has a lot of hashtags. This person doesn't have a lot of hashtags. Where do they come up in the search? And do two hashtags go together better than other terms? So one of the components that I've looked at as we get our voice out there is that one of the hashtags that we are going to leverage is kind of our brand. A Rama on riding, a renegade mountain biker, a Hawaiian magic. Those are my branding terms. Okay, now you put those into your posting because it's your identity. Now, in addition to that, if I was doing a posting on Hawaii, I might just hashtag Hawaii, because people are interested in, finding out who's posting about Hawaii. So that is a example of a specific branding hashtag combined with a general hashtag. And there are tons of sites that will kind of show you what's trending. And I mean, as I say, some of these hashtags have 250 million posts relating to them. Those are generally the like for like kind of hashtags, which I don't quite grasp quite yet how they're applied, but I would suspect that people are looking to trade likes, okay, so that they, build their social media empire based on that sort of hashtagging. I'm not sure how effective that would become because I have not used that. I've stuck mostly to things that are specific to my posts. And some of them are very, very small, like the Rama on riding is a brand, so it hasn't become a trending brand yet. But some of the terms that I've hashtagged are big terms, like book marketing and book publishing and book writing, and those are some big ones. Now, Denise had a great idea that I think we could all benefit from, and that would be to include a hashtag Tom Bird Method in all of our posts. And that way we would build a community from all of us doing our own posting. And people might say, oh, what's this Tom Bird Method? And do a hashtag search on that and find some of Bill's posts and Dolores's posts and Mary's posts and James' posts and Rama's posts. And it said, oh my gosh, this is a bunch of crazy authors that are, banding together to grow a community. Okay, so this is one of the things that I wanted to get at today, was that, hey, let's take a step as a community. Let's utilize a consistent post or hashtag for all of our posts, so that there is power with numbers. So that is something that I'm going to start including, is the Tom Bird hashtag Tom Bird Method. Now, for those of you who don't know how to write a hashtag, you put your pound sign, and if you look at my name today, I hashtag Rama John, just as an example. So what you have is no spaces between the words of your hashtag. You can have capitals, you can have smalls, you can have some things capital and some things small. It's not a there aren't any rules of engagement, so to speak. You can make them up as you go along. So with the hashtag Tom Bird method, I would recommend capitalizing the T in Tom, the B in Bird, and the M in method, and using that as a consistent hashtag through all of our posts. Now, in addition to that, if we were going to brand a blog name, I think Phyllis's, we talked about On the Road Home or The Road Home or something like that. We would want to include a specific hashtag, and then if we're writing on a topic that we feel has a general topic hashtag that we could benefit from, we might want to include that in the midst of the post somewhere. So again, you can have hashtags at the beginning of the post, you can have hashtags at the end of the post, and you can have hashtags in the midst of your post. Now, we've talked about social media. The next obvious step is to include the hashtags in our blogs. Okay? Normally, we utilize social media to tell everyone, hey, I've got my new blog posting up about scootering in Hawaii, and I have, the hashtags involved in that. I have a couple of sentences that I put in my social media, and then I have the read more that will drive people back to my website where the blog is actually sitting. And if I can get them to come to my blog, then there's the contact me, whether it's a slide across, a pop-up, join my mailing list, so that when I do have my blog posts come out on every Thursday or every Sunday, whatever day, then I can send out an email to my list of people that have signed up and say, check out my new blog post, hashtag Rama on Riding, about how hashtags are used in social media, and I can end it with hashtag Tom Bird method. And so all of these hashtags sit in the web. And if we do our job correctly, we are building an identity from that transcends social media to our website, to our blog, to our newsletter. And there we have this body of information that's sitting out there. Now, the next obvious question becomes, how do hashtags differ from keywords? And they probably don't differ from keywords. They are probably relating to our keywords. So if I do a post about one of my Rama on Riding webinars, that whole Rama on Riding component of my marketing is about book promoting, book writing, book publishing, book marketing, and those may be the keywords that I am leveraging to grow my network. So I would just hashtag those. And as I alluded to, at the end, I might include a series of hashtags, hashtag Rama on Riding, hashtag Tom Bird method, and use that as a sign-off. Now, another addition to this is that we can build a template for all of our emails, so that at the end of our emails that just go out auto, when we send when I send an email to Phyllis about, hey, Phyllis, you've confused me, I'm not sure what we're doing with this right now, I can have it built into a template that I have hashtag Rama on Riding, hashtag book marketing, book promotion, Tom Bird method, and all that goes out with every email that I send. And what you'll start to see is that this information stays in the web and it builds our identity. A lot of this stuff isn't going to show effectiveness initially. Okay, it's just building up the data, the database. It's building up this information tied to our name, to our identity, to our platform. And at some point, we're going to have a body of social media posts. We're going to have a body of blogs. We're going to have it all in our website as well. And someone's going to discover, oh my gosh, Rama on Writing, this crazy guy talks about all kinds of things that I could benefit from to help promote my book. And then you start catching fire. You might start to trend. And in that way, you start to grow your identity. So it's all about, number one, starting. Number two, having some consistency, whether consistency applied to both, consistent posting, consistent blogging, and consistent use of keywords and hashtags. And over time, this body grows and it grows and it grows. And one day somebody discovers you and they retweet one of your posts, or they share one of your blogs because that was exactly what they needed to hear that day. And you start to grow in a kind of a homegrown method of trending. And that's our goal, is to trend and become viral. And unless we're writing about, cats doing crazy things, we're kind of challenged with how do we go viral? How do we get to the point where it grows on its own? In the old days, we called it the 100th monkey situation, where it starts to grow exponentially. Well, it doesn't happen at first unless we're really, really lucky. It comes through having that body of stuff, posting and blogs and everything out there in the web. And then one day we hit the nail on the head and somebody finds us and they look at, oh my gosh, James Parker is a great storyteller. Look at all these stories he's written about. Oh, look, he's even got a book about, stories. Gosh, he sounds like a pretty good guy. I'm going to buy his book. And so it is a growth concept. And unfortunately, gang, the results don't happen initially. So it can be very discouraged. We can be posting and posting and posting and friending and liking and hashtagging and blogging and, basically think and feel that, oh my gosh, I get 4 people that like my post. That's not really that great. Nobody's reading my blog. Why am I even doing any of this stuff? And I think that we have to get to that point where we have some level of trust that if we do this over and over and over again, it is going to grow into something over time. And one of the things that I've noticed both Tom and I are spending a lot of effort doing is growing that vision for the authors. We do live in a fast food society and we want to have our results yesterday. I get that. And unfortunately, without spending tons of money, we're not going to get those kind of results quickly. It's going to be a slow growth, something that we stick with, and we do it day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And when I talk to the authors that have been doing this for a year or two, the stories that I hear is that, oh my gosh, all the work that I did is finally starting to pay off. It's starting to grow on its own. I'm finding the right people now. Initially, I was finding crazy people. And They weren't going to be customers, and they were kind of, negative dark clouds. But as you sort through this kind of thing, you start to find, as Bill mentioned and I've mentioned in the past, you start to find your tribe. And so it's a growth component. Well, as I say, I was a little disappointed with all the information that I found about hashtags. It didn't give me a lot of guts that I would be able to enlighten you with all this great information. And unfortunately, it was something that, was talked about. There was some discrepancy on using too many hashtags versus using specific general ones. But the bottom line is that as we are going to post, which we're going to do anyway, we might as well build these kind of things into our posts. And it is somewhat of an art form. If you get too crazy with your hashtags, people will ignore them. If you put them in the wrong place in a post, you might not get the benefit of someone clicking on it. But the bottom line is, by putting this stuff out there with our keywords, with our hashtags, we stand a much better chance of, developing a following and people finding us. And that's our goal, is to be found. And then our next goal is, once we're found, what are we going to do with these people? How do we take a friend to a customer? And that's, of course, a whole nother webinar. But that's our kind of our marketing approach. And there's a lot of, I think the term is funneling. And there's a lot of strategies as to how we have a big funnel like this that we direct down to making a decision. And I think most of us aren't really involved in those decisions just yet. We're still at the big end of the funnel here, is attracting attention to ourselves. So, Dolores, the reason why we're doing Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram is to attract attention. That's one of the reasons why at times you'll hear both Tom and myself say, hey, you don't want to do vanilla stuff. You want to be, you want to get people to react. And sometimes you get them to react because you said something wacky, and you're, trying to get them to come up and say, hey, you're crazy for saying that. Well, that's a valid approach to getting engagement. If you look at how marketers work, they can be pretty outrageous at times. And they're being outrageous to attract attention. Dolores, you unmuted yourself. Do you have a question?
I do. I have a comment, actually. We need to write an article about how to do social media for introverts. Introverts make up only 25% of the entire population in the world. The 75% of the rest of you are extroverts, and you have a great time with all this stuff. So I'm wondering if maybe that might not be an idea.
That's actually a great idea. I would have to say that of authors, we probably represent 75% of the introverts. There are a few people out there that I've spoken to that seem to be great at talking about themselves and their process. We don't have Anaria on the line, but she is a natural. Okay, most of us aren't naturals, and it's a challenge. You're right. How do we get from wanting to be a hermit writing books to actually being a book marketer for our books? And that's the path that many of us are taking. And some of us have a much harder time than others. But I suspect that of the authors in our programs, we run a big percentage of introverted people. So that's a really good topic. So we can all write about that topic. Now, here's something interesting that we might want to experiment with, and I'm not sure if this is the topic or not, but it could be. We could all decide on next week we're all going to write a blog posting about how introverts use social media, or how we get to that point where we can come out of our shell. And by doing that, we would have a huge body overnight. We might come up with a trending component just on something like that. So these are the strategies that we can look at for moving forward. That was the whole point behind the Tom Bird Method hashtag, is that, okay, we're all posting crazy different things about this, that, and the next thing, but what's a common theme is that we're all authors here. So we can take a number of different approaches, and I'd never even thought about everyone writing their own 2 bits about, how do introverts get to the point where they're comfortable with social media. This is really a good idea. I'm glad you brought that up. So what I can do is I can come out with with my post for the revision webinars earlier in the week. I can come up, hey, everyone, let's all write blog posts about this, and let's hashtag these terms on it. And overnight, we would have a body of information. And we're not the only ones that have this issue, this concern, this problem that we face. So what we would do overnight is we would become experts in a field. And if we hit the nail on the head, we could trend a topic. So, this is actually really good food for thought, gang. And, some place to go. I'm not sure if we're ready to do that just today, but we're not far off of it, because we all do need to work our social media to grow our identity, and these are the kind of things that we could do. Tom Pitts, you had your hand up. Do you have a comment about this kind of thing?
Yeah, it was back earlier there, but actually what I did, I pretend I'm talking to a few of my friends, and that's how I kind of get over that jitters of posting on social media. I kind of picked that up on like appearing on stage, and that is one. We could join Toastmasters. That's a commitment, but if you really have a really introvert, if you really want to get over it, Toastmasters. Or I joined an improv comedy troupe, but that's a little extreme. So then you said, well, let's write something. I said, okay, well, that's probably what I should do, just post something on that. But I had a more general question on the, searching which hashtags are trending and all that. If we find a hashtag that's got millions of hits, and we use that same hashtag, we're in the mix with 1 million. I'm thinking that you get another hashtag on there that narrows it down. So if we can be, in something like 10,000 people are looking for it, we have a better chance of actually somebody seeing us. And there's a cool thing on Twitter. If you searched Twitter, you use hashtag moral, hashtag war. You get a lot of people tweets on that. As a matter of fact, I come up in that search. But if you put one more hashtag on that, depending, either no one might come up, or maybe only 3 or 4. So that's my dilemma. Do we want to be in the mix with 1 million other hashtags, or smaller?
This is a really great question. I think gets to the heart of it, and I'm not sure if I have an answer, but I think that the way to discern how it all works is to do what you just mentioned, is to take some general ones and also some specific, maybe branding ones that we utilize, or a more minute topic, and combine them and see and do a little bit of experimenting with it. Because I think I think that we can stumble on a formula that'll work for us, and I think it's a combination of the two. To tell you the truth, is that we need to have a general topic that we're involved with, and then we need to try to narrow it down a little bit with maybe a more specific component of that topic, and see what happens. So these are great questions. Holly's got a question. Let me unmute her. Okay, Holly.
Hey, Rama. I was just wondering, if you're I like the idea of everybody blogging on being an introvert, and how you're handling social media. If you posted this as a suggestion for this upcoming, we're supposed to do 3 blogs for our next assignment. If everybody posts one blog, one of the 3 on being an introvert, we could post it on our Facebook group. If we do that, will other people be able to access it outside of the group? Or if we hashtag it or something like that, would people be able to pick up all those blogs that we write?
Yes, they actually will be able to see that. And even though it's it's a specific group, through a situation, I've determined that anyone can realistically post to that beta group Facebook page. We have had some authors who weren't initially in that beta group that are posting blogs in that forum. So if we were to take the same hashtags, or some of them, right? Because you're going to have a specific one that might be your branding identity. Maybe it's Holly's homework or something like that. Something like that you would have for all of your postings, and then a couple of specific ones, one being maybe the Tom Bird method, hashtag Tom Bird method, maybe another one being social media for introverts, hashtag, introverted social media, or, something like that. We'd want to kind of come up with some common terms so that each post has at least that one keyword hashtag. And this is really an interesting strategy. This is why I love doing these webinars, right? Because an idea grows from just like little pieces, and we start to come up with, wow, look at this. If we were to take it to this next level, we may in fact actually have stumbled onto something. Because the bottom line, Holly, is that you're going to write something about introverts and social media, and I'm going to write something different, and Dolores is going to write something totally different. And there are hundreds of thousands of people out there that have the same scenario and may, benefit from looking at all this stuff. And they may start following the trend and say, oh, look at this, there's a hashtag about introverts and social media. I'm going to hashtag my response to this. And before you know it, we have established a trending movement. And I don't think that we've actually ever looked at doing something like this. And so we have the components, of building this sort of thing that, other groups are probably doing it, and we're just not aware of it at this point in time. But our group can do it as well. We've got, 40 people in that beta group. We're about to start another beta group to grow these sorts of things. So, I guess that maybe what we'll do is maybe next week's webinar on Saturday, we go deeper into this idea and start to define it, and maybe set a day every week where we all, write this, on the same topic, and we see where it takes us and see how we grow with it, because, we don't know what we can do until we try. And I think that that's the whole first step about social media and blogging and the whole shebang, is that, we're all kind of scared about, doing it. We have our own reservations for whatever reason, our own perspective of why we don't want to do it or why we do want to do it. But if we were to band together on certain topics, and let's say we put a list together of pertinent topics for the next couple of months, and we say, okay, this week we all write about this, next week we all write about that, week after, and we use these hashtags in the process, we might stumble onto something that could be very effective for all of us. I love this. This is a perfect example of how things grow through bits and pieces and conversation. So very good. We got let's see, Tom Carroll has unmuted himself. Tom, do you have a comment about this process or anything?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I came in late. Forgive me if this is a question that was already asked and answered. Can a hashtag include multiple words, or do the words have to be run together?
A hashtag cannot have any spaces or numbers in it.
Okay, are they effective if you run two words together? Like, well, I don't know, is social media two words? If you scrunch them together, is that effective?
Yes.
Does it?
It can be effective, like a Rama on writing could be a hashtag that I would use.
Okay.
So
how about
yes.
bank robbery? How about if I want to do, excuse me, I'm not going to rob a bank, anybody. Anyway, bank robbery. I would have to push them together, and it would still have currency, but only if for some reason that was current that day or that week. Is that correct?
To some degree, yes. But here's the back end of it. Okay, if we were going to write about bank robbery, we're going to use that hashtag consistently. Then we would establish a whole body of work attached to that hashtag. So even though it wasn't trending today, right, as we grew and as we wrote more and posted more with that kind of hashtag, we might be able to push the envelope and to create a trend just based on that didn't happen initially, wasn't going on. Now, that's why I initially was saying that, well, we probably want to look at several types of hashtags in our post. One being a branding component for ourselves, one being a general trending topic, so that we connect the two together somehow or another. And then it goes to what Tom Pitts was saying, is that, well, okay, maybe we can take a branding one, a general one, and then a more specific one within that general topic, and see how they all intermix. And as I say, a lot of this is experimentation, but one of the components of experimentation with hashtags is that we're going to have to give the specific hashtag some time and put a body of posts behind it.
Rama, if I understand correctly, hashtags and keywords are really quite closely related, are they not? They
are. They're very, very tightly intermixed. And
so in keywords, you have to, oftentimes it's a multiple word expression, but you have to put a comma after each word. Is that correct? Or can you have spaces between those and then a comma?
Say that again, Tom. I lost you for a second.
Keywords. Okay, we're back to bank robbery. If I'm just writing keywords, can I write bank robbery, comma, and then move on to the next word? can keywords have spaces between them, or are they only single words, comma spaced?
Keywords can have spaces between them. One of the components about keywords is if we have a 3-word phrase, Sedona mountain biking, 3 words. They need to maintain the sequence, the same sequence to be effective.
Okay.
Mountain biking Sedona wouldn't necessarily give me the traction that if I was using Sedona mountain biking, and then I started to juggle the term, it wouldn't be effective. So you want to maintain the integrity of the sequence. For what you're talking about is what's called a long tail keyword, 3 or 4 words together. Now, the difference is that there is no hashtag. So in a social media post, it's not a clickable link. You see, if we used Sedona mountain biking, if I hashtag Sedona mountain biking, no spaces, maybe I capitalize the first letter of each of the words, and I hashtagged it, then it would be a clickable link. So in my Twitter post, and I use hashtag Sedona mountain biking, you could click on that hashtag Sedona mountain biking, and it would come up with all the body of posts that utilize that hashtag. If I just utilize the keywords Sedona mountain biking, then it's not a clickable link. It still is effective, mind you, okay? Because what you're doing is you're, again, building your keyword branding component, okay? So it is still an effective tool to utilize, and it's probably a combination of the two, especially in blog postings.
Okay, if you wanted to be, if you're overly concerned, you could probably put an underscore between the words and hashtag it that way. And
I'm not sure about that, Tom. I did find that you can't put numbers or you can't put symbols in there. Maybe that was what I found. And I think numbers work because a lot of the like for like hashtags have the number 4 in there instead of the word for. So you can have numbers, you can't have symbols in a hashtag.
I'm gonna sign off. Thank you for that. I want to listen to the whole of this later. Hello to everyone. I'm supposed to be working. Have people waiting for me. We'll catch you when things slow down. Good luck, everybody.
Okay, Tom, take care. Do we have any other questions or comments relating to hashtagging, social media, blogging, or anything else that you'd like to talk about? Tom Fritz, you've raised your hand again.
Okay, here, we want to, what do they call it, monetize some of this stuff eventually. And I'm getting like every 5th post or tweet or contact can be asking for us, not asking for a sale, but maybe referring to our product. And I don't know exactly, but I haven't actually done that yet. Every once in a while, I'll put up a tweet about my book or something. So I'm looking for ideas on when to mention and how to mention that, check out my book. So,
Well, Tom, this is actually a great question.
next week.
What I saw myself doing, and I haven't been blogging consistently as much as all of you out there, so I'm negligent, I get it. But as I was writing some Hawaii posts, I'd write about what I was doing, and I might be at a place. Okay, let's say I was at the City of Refuge, which is a great place to go to, and the book that I'm writing has some stories from the City of Refuge in it. That left me a great opening to kind of tie my book into the post a little bit. Okay, it's a puzzle that you need to, it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle that you need to weave it in there in a way where it's not as blatant, but it fits in with the flow of what we're talking about. It's a hard game to, when is too much. And as I say, it goes back to the component. When somebody walked into the bike shop, I didn't immediately go for the sale. I first went for that connection. So, how do you weave it in? How do you take it to the next step? And this is a really important question because if we're all about sales, and every post that we do goes back, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, people are going to just start ignoring you because they know where it's going, okay? So, what is the ratio? Like you said, is it 1 out of every 5 posting? Or is it just something that you weave into the story in a good way into the posting? If it's a blog posting, maybe there's a way that you can direct it to the book by having some common denominator. Okay, my post is about morality. Oh, I talk about morality in war in my book, and my new book that isn't even out yet. Check it out when it comes out. So you can build those components into a post, but you do need to be creative with it. It has to flow. It can't be obvious manipulation, kind of. So it's got to be subtle manipulation. Let's put it that way. Can't be obvious manipulation. It's got to be subtle manipulation. And since we're all authors, we can do this. Okay. This isn't rocket science for us. We just need to kind of have an agenda and to know, oh my gosh, this is a perfect lead-in this blog posting to my book. Oh, but this blog posting, it isn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hashtag the title at the end of it. So I don't know. It's a subtlety. It's going to take some experimentation from all of us to go in this direction. But this is the great question that we all face, and it goes back to what Dolores asked at the beginning: why am I doing this social media? In the first place, why am I doing the blogs? Why am I here? Trying to build a network. The reason is we're ultimately trying to monetize our platform, which is either teaching that we're doing, purchasing our books, or maybe we have got another agenda. Maybe our agenda is for, 30 people in the Tom Bird program to write a blog posting that's about the same topic. Whatever our agenda is, and to build momentum that way. So again, I don't know if I have the right answer for you, Tom. It is a struggle because if you're viewed as just always talking about selling your book, your product, your platform, people are going to start to ignore you a little bit. Okay, then we have to be really, really creative with the title, which is the next step in a post. Especially a blog post, is come up with a title that intrigues people to want to click further. Come up, with that first sentence in the social media post that, oh my gosh, this person's got something that they're funny. Okay, people love to laugh. So if we maintain some kind of funniness in our position, then we might attract customers. One of the things that I view, and when I'm doing these webinars, I view myself as an entertainer. Okay, so it's a mixture of knowledge and entertainment. That's kind of where we all go in our promotion of ourselves is, what are the tools we're going to use? Laughter is a great tool. Some people, there's some posts that are just so serious that I read a couple of words of it and say, oh, no, I don't want to even read anymore, because I'm not in a serious mood. Or the topic that they're talking about isn't one, it's too serious for me, and I'm never going to want to read that post. So these are our balancing acts. We can do experimentation through the use of some analytical information to find out what our audience wants. For example, if we spend a week just writing funny posts and we get more traction out of that than the next week when we write serious posts, then we've learned something. Let's be funny. We get more traction, we get more people engaged. So, as I say, this is one of those trial and error components of where we're going with getting the word out about who we are and what we stand for. Dolores.
I just have one final question about the Twitter site itself. Do we actually log out after we've logged in, or does it just shut down when we get out of there? Because I haven't seen a place where it says log out here.
I think we can just shut down and not worry about it. We don't need to log out. Depending upon your settings, it looks like Bill's got a comment.
You can log out. What are you not seeing as a place to log out?
I don't see anything. Where do you go? Where do you go to log out?
You see that little. If you have a profile in settings, if you have see where it says tweet. I'm on a PC right now, but the same thing. If you're on your phone, it's a little bit different, but there's always a place to log out. I leave myself pretty much logged in on my phone just because I get notifications then.
Okay.
But you see where it says,
no, I'm on my PC, and I don't see anything across the top or anywhere.
See where it says tweet?
It says
on the right.
That little symbol.
Yeah, it says tweet.
With the feather. It doesn't say tweet on mine. It just says a little symbol.
Yeah. Well, it says tweet on mine. If you go right to the left of it, where your picture is.
Yeah.
If you have a picture of, and click on that.
On the picture?
Yep. And then you go down, and it's a drop-down menu, and it goes log out.
There it is. Okay.
The other thing is, if you look at analytics, where it says analytics, if you click on that, you will find all kinds of things about who's following you, what genre they're in, and all kinds of things about who's following you, and it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
So there you go.
Well, that was helpful. The stuff that you gave me earlier was very helpful. I actually went to it and looked at it. So this answers my question.
The best thing is really just to spend time on it, then go read some tutorials.
Yeah.
Because for a while, it's like, you get the idea of how to do the initial thing, but then it's better to just play around with it and focus on it for a while. I've been focusing on Twitter, and I really learned a lot about it, mostly by just playing around with it.
Okay. Thank you.
And Catherine Kerrigan has excellent webinar she did on Twitter or social media in general. Mm-hmm. So there you
go. What Bill mentioned is really important, that, there are tutorials in the self-help in Twitter, but also there are tons of people that have taken it upon themselves to either write a blog about the question that you're asking, or to do a little video on YouTube about it. And sometimes having those videos, because then they show you what to click, can help quite a bit, because, basically we don't know nothing about any of this stuff. And, we all have the fear, well, if I click the wrong thing, what's going to happen? And, whether it's a, justifiable fear or not, I think that there's a little bit of that in all of us, that, we're afraid to click the wrong thing because of I'm not sure why. It's just maybe it's ingrained in us from childhood, afraid of doing something wrong. But those tutorials that Bill talks about are really, really helpful. You'll find as you do that you're going to get to a lot of good information. And what I've noticed is that these people out there that are doing the tutorials, the informational webinars and things like that, generally have a mailing list as well. And so you can get on their mailing list and you can get regular emails from them, and you can see how the system works. Okay? And you can see what turns you off. Oh gosh, I get an email from Joe Vitale 4 times a week. That's too much. So you start to think, well, what do I want to emulate? What happens if I have it twice a week? Maybe that's that's a good level for me to engage with my people. And so you start to see how the professional people work, which is really critical for us, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to look at what's being done and say, oh, I like the way this person does it. And then we can build our social media platform based on that. So it is kind of discovering what identity we want to portray, how we want to portray it. And we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. Now, one of the things that I haven't talked about yet that ultimately makes this whole process a lot easier is that we don't necessarily need to do these things in real time, okay? And I think that in many cases, we're kind of stuck in that environment thinking, oh, in order to do Twitter, I have to pay attention to Twitter 24/7. I'm always going to be on, and I don't have time for that. So instead, we decide we're not going to do anything. And but if you work with Denise, she works with the Hootsuite dashboard. There are a number of different, some free, some cost money dashboards that allow us to, number one, post outside of real time. Number two, connect one post on Twitter to the same post onto Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. We can set a post to go in many different places with one click. So that is the next step with our social media. Same with our blogs. We can sit down this afternoon and we can write 10 blogs. And we can load those up on our website to go out on Thursday this week, Thursday next week, and Thursday for the next 2.5 months. And so what we do is we kind of move the time load to a different environment where we're devoting certain times to writing those blogs, and then all we need to do is load them in to come out on a time. And we can also schedule those emails to go out, okay? My blog goes out Thursday at 5 in the morning. I'm going to also send out every Thursday email that says, hey, check out my new blog posting, and have a funny picture of something, and maybe the first couple of sentences of the blog, and say, to read more, click here. So all of this can be done outside of a real-time environment. Not to say that you don't want to be able to log into your Twitter and to grow your Twitter account and maybe to respond. Okay, my blog comes out Thursday at 5 in the morning. Let me check it out throughout the day Thursday and see if I'm getting comments anywhere. So you kind of build yourself a structure as to, okay, I'm going to schedule for the next 2.5 months these blogs to go out, and then I'm going to follow up by checking out on that day, maybe the next day, maybe the third day, and see what the results are. Are people looking at, are people commenting? One of the keys that I've encountered is that if people are commenting on your blog, you want to be able to comment on their comment. You want to engage them. That's one of the goals, is to start a conversation about that blog or that post and go back and forth and get more people engaged. If you find a way to engage a community on a topic, then you're halfway there. Any other questions or comments today before we go to breakfast? Well, I hope that I've shed a little bit of light on hashtags, maybe keywords, and a few other components relating to why we are doing this. I think that next week I'm going to kind of make it an open webinar, and let's talk about specific topics and maybe weeks that we can write about them, because a lot of you are in Tom's beta groups and need topics to write about. Others are, just trying to work their social media, and this is an experiment that I think we could all benefit from. And if we maintain a few consistent hashtags in this process, who knows what we can achieve. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in today. If you do have ideas for topics to talk about, drop me an email, rama@tombird.com. You all have my email. And I certainly am willing to talk about pretty nearly anything, even if I have to do a little bit of research. And everyone, have yourself a great weekend. And I'll be back next Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Rama.
Yes.